Ever wonder what really goes on inside an investor's mind? Welcome to the Angels Brief Podcast. Each week, we sit down for raw, unfiltered conversations about their decision making process, their biggest wins, their worst nightmares, and everything in between. Just real talk about what it takes to spot the next big thing. This podcast is co hosted by Tim Moore, the CEO of Clixie.ai, and Doron York, the CEO of CitySide Ventures and the co founder of Birmingham Angels. So, let's get inside their heads.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Doron. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, too.
That was a heck of a Super Bowl we had this past weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm not much of a football fan, but, it was an entertaining game.
Well, with the Lions out of it, I wasn't as interested in paying attention this year. But from what I understand, it wasn't a very exciting game. So they kind of took care of business.
Yeah, it was kind of almost like done in the beginning. That's what people tell me about the game that, after they scored the first 3 touchdowns, it was kind of pretty much over.
Absolutely. So it's much more exciting to talk about things like venture capital than it is football, right?
Right. Always. So we basically decided to co-host this episode and talking about for the listeners, what as an investor, especially early stage investor, what is that we're looking when we select a founder? What kind of type of DNA, like the distinct narrative attribute, looking in a founder?
So, yeah, I would love to find out more about how you actually determine this. I mean, as far as I can tell, you've got more volume coming at you than a fire hose as far as deal flow and things like this. I mean, you're in pitches constantly going on. And I mean, it's got to start all blending together. So really, what do you look for that's standing out? So what is the core DNA of a founder that we're looking for? So is it somebody that is a go-getter? It's somebody that follows the track, is a rule setter, rule breaker? What do you look for?
It's a good question. I want to set up the kind of the context for people.
Sure.
And the context is this. First of all, what we're saying is not the truth, right? So we're speaking the truth. This is the absolute truth. This has come from many years of experience. We watched over 6,000 pitches over the last 6-7 years. So we're using kind of the distinction called assertion. So we assert that this is this because we have a lot of data to back it up, but it's not the truth. So
right.
You shouldn't listen to it like, oh, this is the truth. The second thing is that, the model that every investor look from, especially early stage investors, it's what we call the driver, the car, and the race.
Absolutely.
Right? The driver, i.e. the founder, the car is the business, the race is the market. In early stage investing, 60% of the decision based on the driver.
Yes, that makes sense.
Right? There's a mini series on Netflix called Formula One Drive to Survive.
Yes.
I really suggest every founder to watch it because all the team manager are going to tell you at the end of the day, if it's the Mercedes team or the Red Bull team, and all the managers can, I think, what's his name? Jason Brown, I think he's the CEO of McLaren.
Okay.
That said, I can have the best car, I can have the best engine, I can have the best crew, I can have the best sponsors. If I don't have the right driver, I'm not going to win races. So the question become the $1 million question: what is this driver?
Exactly.
Right?
What do you look for in that driver?
Right. So in general, if you will, you can bucket, it's one model. You can bucket human personalities to 4 different main buckets. So we have prime drivers. We have ego expressive. So the prime drivers are the CEOs, the big corporate executives. What's driving prime drivers is time and money.
Right.
Ego expressive could be high performers, but it's more the people look at me, look at my car, look at my watch, look how I dress. It's more about them.
Definitely ego driven. It's all about external.
It's ego driven, but it's not necessarily negative because Donald Trump.
Yes, of course.
Bill Gates.
Very much
Steve
so.
Jobs.
All those people.
Ego can drive to success. It's not the thing. And then you have the complacent amiable, which is the people that more feely touchy. I need to feel it. I need to kind of thing, like the Archie Bunkers.
Got it.
And then you have the analytics, which is the engineers, the med scientists. It's all about data. It's all about absolute. It's all about 0 to, kind of thing. So first we need to understand in what bucket this particular driver is falling into. Is this a driver? Is this prime driver? Is ego expressive? analytics, some that gives you, us as investors, a prism to look from, right? And then inside of that, we developed a filter, if you will, that we're looking at the founders from two different point of view. One is the personality attributes,
Yes.
and the other one is the business orientation,
It makes sense.
right?
Hmm.
So if, for example, anything from communication, critical conversation, emotional intelligence, presentation and representation, how they present and how they represent, strategic and mission control thinking, self-awareness and presence, flexibility and adaptability in a personality, active listening. Are they listening to what's over here, and they're listening to the little voice in their head? Determination and drive, and of course the last one we call discipline and methodical thinking. That's from the personality attributes, and then from the business orientation, we're looking at level of professionalism, attention to details, proficiency in business thinking, understanding business development, anything from branding to marketing to sales. How this whole thing works. Have sufficient understanding in business finance, understanding fundamental business laws. We talk about the basics, right? Understanding business operation, industry knowledge. If they're in a particular industry, we want to know that they actually gain some industry knowledge, or they understand the industry in sufficient level, and understanding technology to the level that can understand how it's applied, right? And one of the areas we're also looking at is business negotiations. It's some correlation to the personality.
Yes.
Prime driver tend to be tough negotiators, and complacency able to be very soft negotiators. So we're in business after all.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of in a high level. So when the company pitch, they're holding their product or services like as the shiny object that they point to the investor. But what the investor sees is exactly the opposite. They see the founder and the shiny object. So our focus is on the founder, not an object.
Correct. That makes sense.
Right.
Well, the driver, right, of the car. Absolutely.
Right.
It makes the most sense.
And it's almost like a sense of you're looking for, if you go to a first date, in the first date if you will actually going to go to second date or not.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what the founders need to understand that they 15 minutes pitch, the 15 minutes first interaction with the investors, that's when the investor make the decision if they want to invest, consciously or unconsciously.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you didn't get them there, it's over.
That makes sense. Do you find that most of the investors look for founders that have that work in an area that they're familiar with, so that they're more willing to invest in, say, a founder that works in the med tech space, if they're a doctor or someone that comes from that space, or are they looking at purely from a financial aspect?
No, early stage investors more interested in what you said, in the background of the founder, where they're coming from, because for the most part, we say that early stage investing, it's about human assessment, not financial assessment. So because the truth to be told, early stage companies don't have any history.
Right, exactly.
So there's no really any analysis we need to do on the finance, because it's all projection and, speculation at this point.
Well, I mean, but are there any really red flags that you would look out, warning signs that would just say to you that a founder wasn't ready to be invested in?
Yes, we looking at different things, like, for example, level of arrogance, right? I mean, it's okay if they be a little cocky, especially young people. Mm-hmm. We can live with that, but arrogance is not attractive. When the founder thinks that he's standing in front of you and he knows everything and you don't know anything, this arrogance is a red flag. Unclear communication, when you ask a question and you don't get a clear answer, like, hey, Tim, what's the color of your jacket?
Well, it could be blue, it could be black, depending on the light you're in.
Right.
That's the answer you don't want.
No.
It's black is the answer you want.
Black. Yeah.
It's black.
Yeah. If you can ask me, what type of black? Okay, we can take a look. But, so it's unclear communication, or, speaking and listening. There's an expression in human evolution that called speaking into the listening. So the question, when you speak to me, do you speak to my listening, or you speak to to the little voice in your head telling you what you because listen, in life, we always have three-way conversation.
Yes.
Okay? I'm going to share with you something interesting. We all have what we call the evil twin,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know which evil twin I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one on the other side of your shoulder.
Yeah, the guy that's telling you what evil twin he's talking about. So as we going in life, we always have a three-way communication with the world. It's like I'm talking to Tim,
Yes.
you know, Tim talking to me, but it's not talking to me. He's talking to my evil twin, and they've been telling me what Tim just said.
So it's the founders that are listing their evil twins are the ones that we don't want to work with.
Well, it's a human condition, but we want to make sure that when the founder talks to us, or when we talk to the founder, it doesn't go to, you know, I'm talking to the founder and he asked the evil twin, what do they want from me? Kind of things like, kind of thing. It's like, you know, and by the way, we all have a nickname to the evil twin, right? You know, I call it G.I. Joe. Because for me, it's like the evil twin is like, get to a point that's like, okay, I get the guns out, start running or I'm going to shoot. I used to have a partner that she was very tough, and she used to say she named her evil twin Bloody Mary.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
harsh.
Yeah, no, but so unclear communication is a red flag. So when you ask a question, that they hear your question and they answer your question, not what they think you ask. So unclear communication can be like, if you're the investor asking me a question and I don't really get it, I can say, Tim, I don't get it. Can you repeat it again?
Right.
Instead of pretend that you understand and answer. You can tell by the answer if they're listening to your question or not. So speaking and listening, mannerism, you know, are they cutting your sentences? Are they let you finish your sentence? Are they make sure that after they answer the question that they pause to make sure that you actually got it and you can actually now on the answer. Body language. Body language say a lot about people. Are they open? Are they closed? Are they confident? Less confident? I mean, it's Dr. Littman wrote this book about body language. It's pretty interesting to read. Appearances. I mean, you look at how it does. You don't have to wear a suit and tie, but you want to be presentable. You want to be standing in front of me in a way that respecting
Your time.
my
Your time. Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
right? And organization, it's key for me. So the founder come to pitch, they don't have the pitch deck is ready, the computers doesn't work, you can't find it, or you know, putting the wrong pitch, and then after, I mean, organization, it's indicating organizations and being ready.
You could even argue preparation as well as organization, because organization shows preparation on their part, that they're going to respect your time to come and not waste your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a sense, you can say that the investor watching everything we just talk about right now, they don't even hear anything about the product yet. Now, yes, give me that. I'm listening to you because I'm interested in the space that you're in. Like if you're a medical device or an AI company or mobility company, I'm listening to you because I'm interested in the space that you're in. But I'm not hearing everything about the product yet. The only thing I hear is blah 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 money. Blah 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 money, right?
Right. I mean,
Right.
as one would. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I want to. So if I fall in love with the founder, so if I love the driver, I can fix the car.
Yeah.
I can change the tires. I can put a new engine. So
It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It really is. It
Yeah.
holds true. Mm-hmm.
and then we can find the race.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't fix the driver. So at the end of the day, if I fall in love with the driver and I'm like, wow, I mean, I really want to work with that person, everything else can be fixable. But if I don't fall in love with the founder, then everything else is irrelevant.
That makes sense. Have you ever found that that founders have a tendency when they're coming in for a pitch, rather than actually explaining the company and themselves, they're really just doing another product sale? Because I've seen that happen before as well.
Oh, we see it quite a bit.
Yeah.
They coming and they try to sell you the shiny object.
Exactly.
And they don't understand that investors do not invest in the product; they invest in the founder. So that's one. And yeah, it's pitching the future of your company and the vision of your company and the opportunity for the investors. It's completely different than presenting the feature of your company.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right.
So much different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say to by the end of the day, the only thing I want to take from the 15-minute pitch is I want a second date.
That's it. That's the purpose of it.
That's
all it is, right?
That's all it is.
They don't have to buy your product. They don't have to buy you. They just have to say, I'm interested enough with you. I want to know more.
Right. I just want to go to second date. And the one mistake that I see recently, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, and who's the one advising the companies, but the one common mistake I see in companies that we watched recently is that they finish the presentation without giving me the whole lay of the land of the particular round of funding.
Right.
So it's like, this is who I am, blah, blah, blah. And then if you want to talk to me, well, how much money are you raising? what? This is the one thing the investor needs to take home, because this slide, it's the yes or the no for the second date.
Yes.
So you don't want to fool yourself as a founder to go to second date knowing that it's going nowhere, versus tell the investor, it's like going to the second date, says, and by the way, I don't know, I'm going to, the analogies kind of ran out of my brain right now, but the point is that if you tell me at the end of the presentation, I'm raising $3 million, and these are the terms of the deals, and this is what I'm going to do with the money, and if you tell the investor, we raised money $1 million before this round, if you said that, break it down to me. Who put the money in?
Right.
You know, so because that slide is going to determine, I like you, I want a second date, but it's going to be an expensive date, so I'm not sure I want to get. Oh.
That's a great analogy.
Right?
I don't know. I mean, are we talking McDonald's or Morton's here? I mean, there's a big difference at the price tag.
Or I'm looking at the slide and I said, yeah, I want a second date. It's not going to be that terrible, you know, kind of thing. But that's because every investor have their own frame that they're looking for, how much money they're willing to invest, what kind of valuation they're looking for. So you need to tell me that this is what you're looking for, so I can, I want a second date. Let me think about it. Or sure, we go to the second date. That's one. The second thing is choice of words are critical. There's
Definitely.
a philosopher that said years ago, language is the house of being. Everything dies and falls raised in language. So choice of words and the way that you actually articulate yourself have a lot of weight in the way that I be able to hear what you're saying versus, you know, those. So when we talk about what's a red flag, there's certain founders, and you've seen one in the last event that we had here, the first one that pitched without saying names, that he speaks 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
And it's a red flag for investor, because it's almost like you either talk so fast and you try to cram so many things in what you're saying, and you don't leave a room for anybody to get in. It's a defense mechanism, or it's just your brain is on steroids. I mean, I don't know. But they don't understand that the common human being cannot consume that much information in that speed.
Correct.
So I hear you, the first sentence is, then I lost you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's critical to when we say what are we looking for. There's the founders that have a tendency to add value to the answer. So when I ask you, what's the color of your jacket, and you said it's black, and you know, we chose this black because of all the blacks that we look. I didn't ask that. I asked you what the color. You said black. Great. I can ask you the question, how do you choose that black? Then you answer it, but don't add value to my question without me asking for it.
Makes sense.
Right?
And that's a tendency. You want to keep explaining. Just get in and get out. Say what you respond and then stop.
Right. And then you look at the investor, say, is this answer your question? Yes. Anything else you want to ask about? No. Good. Move on.
Yeah.
It's almost like every time you answer with more data, you prompt more questions.
Yes. Yes. Makes sense.
In there's a point of no return, that if you make it too complicated for the investor and you lost them, you're not going to get them back. They're going to. I see the investor sometimes when you do the pitches, when you have founders like this. In some point, you can send the investor walk up and he go to the back and start drinking and eating. You lost them completely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you just, like you said, make it brief and to the point, and again, founders have a tendency to run at the mouth because they want to fill up the silence in that conversation. It's okay to let them just talk or not say anything.
Right. One of the biggest strengths that I found in humans and in founders in particularly is the ability to be with silence. So standing in front of the room, you ask a question, I answer, and then nobody asks more questions, and you'll be able just to be there quietly, waiting for something to pop up without being threatened or try to fill the void with something else. It's okay to be with silence. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a sign of strength. But the other thing is, we have a joke, internal joke. I can tell you almost with a high level of certainty which incubator and accelerator those companies come from when they pitch.
That was the next question I was going to ask you, because you told me, and I think it's amazing that based on the different incubators someone comes from, or accelerator, or wherever, you can, by listening to their pitch, you can say, okay, I know you're from here, or from here.
Now, it's okay. I'm not saying it in a negative kind of way, but in the same time, kind of try to do a cookie cutter kind of pitch. It's a bit lame for me because I'm always looking to see, okay, you came from Y Combinator or from, Desai or from Techtown or whatever the accelerator, Techstars, but did you add your flavor into it in some point? And then the other piece of it is, again, it's not the truth. Some of those templates and layout they're using, they're wrong in my opinion. And we're going to do a segment about, the pitch perfect.
I can't wait. That'll be really exciting.
But, for example, I give you one example just as a promo for the next episode. Probably 7 out of the 10 presentations, the team, the slide about the team, always in the bottom.
Like, yeah.
And then they do all the stuff, and then they come, and this is my team. This should be the first slide.
I agree with you.
Why? Because when you pitch in front of the room and you say, my name is Tim Moore and I'm the CEO of Clixie, and you start talking about your company, I'm relating to you as an army of one. If you show me the team before you start talking, I'm now holding oh, wow. I mean, he represents all this team behind him, so it's a different context to listen from.
Wow. That's absolutely accurate and completely correct. And yet as founders, we're told repeatedly, no, the team, you got to have the team, but it's not as important as like solving the problem and all the other things in front. I would even argue that the timeline of your company is far less important.
I will say it to anybody who's listening with absolutely certainty. It's BS. The team page need to be, the first slide need to be, describe your business in a very clear statement.
Right.
Call it a brand statement, whatever you want to call it. Like, we are a technology company that implementing AI to help retailers managing inventory. Okay, I'm clear. You're in a retail space, you're a tech company,
AI.
and you're solving a problem for inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it's
this.
right there. It's all in one sentence.
And then the next slide should be, this is the purpose of the vision of our business.
Okay.
The purpose of vision of our business is to transform retailers' ability to manage their inventory, effectively, such they increase the bottom line by 4x.
Which is something good to have, right? So 1 and 2, boom and boom.
Right. And then here's the people behind the company.
I love that.
I'm the CEO. Here's the rest of my team. Here's my advisor and all this stuff.
I love that.
You're taking it from a man in a truck, the company,
I mean, another good analogy, right?
It takes, and then you're creating the context for me. It's like, oh, wow, this is the team behind the company.
Right.
So now as a CEO, you're pitching the company, but I can now listen to it from differently because all those people behind the company, it's not a one-man show.
Right.
Oh, wow, that's cool. And then you go to, very simply, this is the problem. This is how we're solving the problem. This is the market we're going after. And you can show me a slide about the product, but I don't think you should dive under the hood too much because most investors don't understand it.
I agree.
But we'll get into the pitch perfect later in episodes. But I can tell the slides that put together by the founder, and I can tell the slide that put by somebody else.
Right.
The last thing for me, and this is for me personally, some investor may share my sentiments, some won't. The thing that irritates me the most when I see a founder put the pitch deck and then he's standing with the back to me reading the slides instead of looking at me and tell me what's on the slide. Now, how do you do that? You practice and
There
you
it is.
practice and you practice and you practice until you wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can give me the pitch deck without looking at the pitch deck,
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
right?
Hmm.
So it's laziness. It's if you don't know what's on your slide, like,
It's fear too, though, isn't it? They're not confident enough. They have to read it to you as though it's validating because it's being printed on the screen.
it could be a fear, but it could be fear, but it also could be laziness.
It very much so could be laziness.
Right.
Yeah.
If your slide are going to be simplified to not a lot of data in it,
Hmm.
it's not so difficult to memorize it.
Not at all. Be prompted by the things that you see on the slide.
I participated years ago in the workshop in New York. The actress
Yeah, you're telling me about
Yeah.
that. That's amazing.
and
Mhm.
the guy said there's a 3 level of performance. It's reproducing something,
Mhm.
generating something, and generating from something. So you can take a book and you can reproduce what the book said. You can generate from the book, so you can look at the page and you take 1 or 2 sentences and you can generate from that, and then you can generate a whole different monologue from the book without looking at the book,
Right.
right? But
Yep.
in order to achieve that, you
Mhm.
need to read the book cover to cover at least twice.
At least twice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when you see actor and actresses on the screen, when they have like a big role in a movie performance, it takes hours and hours and hours and hours of practicing in front of the mirror, in front of the camera, and all the stuff before you get there.
Absolutely.
So it's insulting to me as an investor that the founder come and try to wing it and kind of standing in front of me and read me the slide, standing with the back at me most of the time, not looking at me, not being with me. And so that's one. You know, and the second thing is, it's insulting also that if you put it on the slide, let me goddamn read it. Don't read it for me. I'm not in first grade.
Right. Exactly.
So if you put it on the slide, you expect me to read it, but now you're reading it for me. It's like, what's the point?
I agree.
I saw your pitch deck already. You sent it to me. It's not about a pitch deck. It's about you.
Right.
So
Show me your energy. Show me your
Practice.
passion.
practice.
Yes.
For God's sake. You don't know your company description? You don't know your company mission statement? I mean, like, really? The funny thing, years ago, when I was in the advising business,
Hmm.
my partner and I, Judy, did some consulting work for EDS at the time.
Wow.
In Auburn Hills. So we used to go there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're standing there waiting for the guy to open the door at 8 o'clock.
Hmm.
And as you walk into the lobby, there was the EDS mission statement on the wall. Big, right? And employee used to come, and Judy and I used to have a joke. We used to stop one of the employees and said, "Can you tell me what's the mission statement for EDS?" And people are look at dumbfounded. And I'm saying, you're looking at it every morning when you walk in and you don't know what it is. Sometimes I feel founders have the same kind of syndrome. Like, what's your mission statement? You don't really?
Yeah.
So, so if we summarize it again to the conversation, it's a 15 minutes. It's a 15 minutes date. That the whole purpose of this date is for me to see enough to say I want a second date.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need to know, 80% of the spotlight is on you and the founder. It's not about your car and it's not about the race.
Well, I mean, those are really valuable tips.
Because we know there's 10 billion people on the planet, and we know it's a big market.
Yes.
I don't care about that. You know, keep reminding me this. Mark Cuban used to get irritated because people remind me, I know there's 10 billion people on the planet. You don't have to tell me how big the market is. You know, but it's really all about us sitting there filtering through our, personality attribute we're looking for the business orientation, the different personality. That's the only thing when there's in the oil country, in Italy and France and other countries in the world, they call it break the bread. You invite somebody to go eat with you, not because it's not about the food. It's about you can learn so much from somebody eating his dinner.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I'm about personality and habit and how they treat the food, how they organize the food, how they manners around the table, give you so much into it to the personality. So it's funny that everybody talking about finance and talking about business models and talking about, deal structure and all this stuff. In early stage investments, it's really not that relevant, because eventually we're going to take a bet on the company. Everything they tell us and everything they put there, it's all fiction at best. It's all projection. It's all speculation.
Well, and this is why you say it's more of an art than a science. And I completely agree with you, because at this level, the equations don't always hold true.
Actually, as Doug was here earlier, we're talking about the AI revolution. It's become even more critical. I think we're living in an era in which tech companies used to have, like, we used to say that one year in a tech company's life is like 7 years in regular business. Like
Yeah, Moore's Law type stuff. Yeah.
But I think AI changed it now. 1 year in the tech space today is like 20 years of, it's moving so fast.
OpenAI is 1 year old.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's insane if you look at how much they've done. I've got a good friend working for them, and he says, we don't have any history right now to judge it. You can't believe that we're only 1 year old and we've reached it to this point.
Right. So we're going to see a lot of changes moving forward, which is make it even more critical and more pinnacle that you pick up the right driver.
Yes.
Because if you crash the car, great. If you're a great driver and you crash the car, we'll find you another car. But if you're not, then I can give you the best car in the world. I'm not going to get the performance I'm looking for.
No, you need that driver. And like you said, you can always add new tires or whatever you need to that car to make it okay for that driver to
As
have.
when Andrew Basile was here on the podcast, we talked about IP, and because of the AI evolution, it's become even more impossible to file for patent in technology, because so much of it is open source.
Yes.
And it's even not worth the money. It's all time to market. I mean, it's like, go to market, grab your market share. But according to a lot of reports that we see recently, the exits cycle of 3 to 5 years of startup company now become 5 to 8 years.
Really?
Because many of the big players like Ford Motor Company or
IBM,
Google,
EDS,
IBM,
anybody,
and all
yeah.
this, they develop, especially when AI can write codes and all of that, they develop a lot of in-house capabilities to do this, and they require less to buy outside companies.
Mm-hmm.
And the outside companies, i.e. the startup company, will have a hard time competing, because the biggest, according to MIT, the biggest tech position in demand right now is AI data scientist. And Google's going to pay them the $300,000-$400,000 a year.
They can afford it.
And you're not going to be able to. So we're looking for those founders that understand that time to market is in the essence. If I give you money today, how fast you can get to second base in the marketplace. Because, we used to invest in company, let's say the first 20-30% of the capital they're raising. And if they don't get to the market as fast or double time, as you used to say in the military, the money is going to be burned so quickly, and then they're going to be dead.
Yes.
And they're able to come back to me, which I don't want.
Which is a bad thing.
So again, coming back to the driver, the car, and the race, it's all betting on a driver. It's 15 minutes of fame. You have to get me to 1 to second date, and then we're going to go from there. Many incubator and accelerator train a lot of founders in best market fit and all that, which is important. But at the end of the day, if I don't fall in love with the founder, it doesn't really matter. You can have the best market fit product in the world, but the wrong driver behind it.
And we're not being taught this as founders. I mean, what you're saying, we are not being taught this. We're being told, get up here, here's the formula, represent this to the venture capitalist, to the private equity people, whoever's listening. And this is the standard that we're not able to deviate from. But bring in your own personality is what I'm hearing you say.
Well, it's bringing your personality, but be mindful. It's not about trying to be somebody you're not.
No, of course, authentic.
Right.
Yes.
You need to be authentic you into the mix, because you can't fake authenticity, and you can't fake confidence, and you can't fake credibility. You can't. I mean, you can't. You think you can, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
People can
You
see
can try.
through. People can see through, especially experienced people.
Yes.
So So you need to be mindful of this and bring yourself into it. And the whole, listen, we know a few things as a fact right now. Venture capital investment in the last 2 years and projecting 2 years, to 26, 27, it's almost down 40%.
Yes.
And it's not because the economy is bad. It's because the technology, investing in technology reached certain, certain saturation in the marketplace that it's become difficult. And the AI completely disrupt the whole thing.
Yes.
So founders need to know the money is there, although there's a lot of money sitting there. It's not as readily available as it used to be 3, 4, 5, even before COVID.
For sure.
So that's why we get pitched a lot more than before, because companies, startup that used to, in this stage, go to the VC, there's nobody there. So
Yeah.
they come back to us and, for us to take more risk. So the end of the day is very simple. If we don't feel that particular founder is somebody we can work with,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't fit at least in some 80% of what we're looking for, we'll take a pass.
That makes sense.
And a lot of founders call me and say, "Oh, I got a message. You guys took a pass to the company. Can I know why?" And you ask yourself the question. You want to be politically correct and very nice and say, "Hey, Tim, this is not something we want to put in a portfolio right now," or just tell them the truth for their benefit. And I say, "We just didn't connect with you. We don't think you can drive." And he was stunned for about a minute. He couldn't say anything. I said, "Listen, you prove me wrong. I'll eat my hat. But my experience telling me that you're not a driver."
And use that to motivate you to become one. Yeah.
Or realize that you're not, and then go find a driver to drive a
That's
company.
also a good
or
idea.
Don't risk your family and your money into it.
Yeah. Go. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here. So is there anything else that you wanted to add to everybody before we wrap up about any advice or anything that you wanted to kind of close with?
I think that every founder that before you actually take the time to prepare and get yourself ready to be in front of investors,
Mm-hmm.
please find somebody who can work you on your appearance, about your presentation, on the human side of your business, not just your pitch deck. Spend significant amount of time in front of the camera, in front of the mirror. Make sure that you get the feedback that you need from people before you go stand in front of the investors, because it will mean the difference between getting funded fast or spending a year on the road trying to chase money.
That sums it up perfectly.
I appreciate it, Tim.
Thanks, Doron.
Are you interested in becoming a member and joining our group? Please contact Doron York by phone 248-981-6688 or visit our members' website by using the following QR code. We are looking forward to talking to you soon.